Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, who's going to be missed more, Stetson or Monken?
And iron sharpens iron, so Grady Jarrett says, but there are a couple scenarios where we've seen it already and maybe some more that we want to see.
And last but not least, and for the culture, our guy D.Led out here just doing his doggone thing. It's ATL Day Ones. Let's go.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
I want to start by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. Really appreciate that from you in advance. ATL Day Ones is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Coming up in 10 minutes. Everybody was talking about iron sharpens iron. But what does that mean for the Atlanta Falcons? We'll talk about that. But first, got to talk about the Georgia Bulldogs, T. They're going for their third national championship in a row. Wow, that is amazing to hear somebody say that, right? That is absolutely crazy. Hasn't been Alabama won back-to-back national championships back in 2011, 2012 season. So, that was the last time it had been done. So Kirby Smart has solidified himself as one of the best coaches in the land. But do you see the loss of their offense coordinator, Todd Monken, who people gave a lot of credit for, bringing these national championships to Georgia, and the loss of Stetson Bennett, who was a Heisman candidate last year? Do you see that as easy as people are talking about it, T? Does it seem like it can be that attainable with those big losses that I just named?
Yeah, I think it definitely is, because when we talked about which of them is the hardest to replace, like who has the highest ceiling, I honestly think it's Carson Beck, and here's why. Mike Bobo has had successful offenses. So that won't be an issue for him. He's worked with Kirby Smart before. He also is a recruiting juggernaut all by himself. So he is perfectly capable of finding pieces out there, some pieces that we probably haven't even seen yet, but we know one of the key pieces, Dylan Raiola, that they're going to get, down the road. But the point I'm making is, when he's out there on the recruiting path or on the recruiting trail, he knows what kind of player is going to fit the Georgia system perfectly. So a lot of these players are going to have been either handpicked by him or certainly co-signed in some way, shape, or form. I think they're good with Mike Bobo at OC. I think the biggest challenge is going to be Carson Beck, number one, because it turns out Stetson Bennett IV has some big shoes to fill.
Yes.
So Carson Beck has to be prepared for that. Like you said, great thing that he did get those 58 snaps, even if it was just for a feel of what the college game is like versus, say, the high school game, right? But I think, too, he's definitely going to have to improve. Of course, fall camp is starting this week, and this is his opportunity to shine. Granted, there are 5 quarterbacks who are on that depth chart, but really this is about a 3-way race, right? And really it's Carson Beck, and then you've got Brock Vandergrift and Gunnar Stockton kind of in that mix as well. But ultimately speaking, I don't think there's so much pressure from those two as it is pressure to perform the way Stetson did, or, at least to that level. At least to that level. A lot of pressure for him.
That's gonna be because here's the thing. I think that, let's go back to why Todd Monken was brought in, because hey, he's a guy that, we're gonna establish the run and be able to run the football, but also being able to, toss the ball around the yard when it's called for. And I think that when you have guys like a Brock Bowers, as your safety blanket, so to speak, I hate to minimize his talents by saying that, and I feel like I am when I do say that, because the guys is probably going to be a top 10 pick in the 2024 NFL draft. Yeah. So I feel like there is, and then you got the 3-headed monster in that running back room that's going to be able to, be able to comfort Carson Beck in this transition. But the one thing about Stetson Bennett that it took me some time to come around on is the dude came up big in big moments.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
and because at some point you're going to have to throw the football. And you can't lean on that running game when there are come games. Even this year, like there's some games that marked on the schedule, right? We can look at Tennessee and say, hey, there might be some competition there, or maybe even Florida, Billy Napier and all those guys get some things going down there in Gainesville. So there might be some room for you to have to make some plays either early on when they come out, because those teams you're gonna get your best shot from every team on your schedule. Now, even though schedule a little weak sauce, but the teams that have those capabilities to at least punch you in your mouth in that first quarter, they're going to come. And then Carson Beck is going to have to be able to step up. So I think that, with Bobo, he had top 10 offenses. Monken had top 10 offenses when he won those national championships. So those are some of the things that, that we're going to have to pay attention to. But I feel like Carson Beck is going to have to prove himself at some point during this season, regardless of strength of schedule.
And I think he'll be fine because of a couple things. Number one, we just got word, maybe within the last hour, that 3 O-linemen are literally up for, and of course, the 3 D linemen as well, but 3 O-linemen, of course, Cedric Van Pran Granger, Tate Ratledge, and Nazir Stackhouse, all 3 named to the Outland Trophy list. So you have an O-line that is consistent, and we talk about that even
talk about safety
net. Exactly. Now that's the ultimate safety blanket. Your O-line having some consistency, and 3 of your O-linemen are headed for the top trophy in the country. And we talk about that with the Falcons and how important the consistency was with them, thus bringing Caleb McGarry back, right? And so I look at that, and I think what's going to help him as well is having what we'll call veteran presence in the wide receiver room, because he does, in addition to of course, getting Brock Bowers back, but he also has Ladd McConkey coming back, and he has Marcus Rosemary St. John. So I think St. Jack potentially. So I think those things could help him. The fact that, hey, you're not going out there and you're throwing to a bunch of newbies as well. They're not going to be new to this. They're going to know all of the pressures that come with having this G on your helmet. And I think those guys as veterans are going to kind of help to bring him along too.
Absolutely. And speaking of veterans, T, how about this? The Braves are getting another veteran back, and AJ Minter. They take the L last night, 4-1. Yeah, I know. It's baseball, we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on the positive on this thing. AJ Minter returns, T. He has a clean sheet, no runs given up. And I think that when you have, especially when, the trade deadline is coming up in just a few. Yeah. When you have somebody perform like that coming off their injury, how big is that for Alex Anthopoulos?
I feel like it's so huge for him to have had, all it was 1 inning, but it was scoreless. Yeah. It was scoreless. That's so critical, because what he did was at least in middle relief kind of put his closer in position to not have to. Now, we, of course, know Rome was giving up late, but he at least put him in position to be able to do the job as long as the Braves could come up with the runs, which unfortunately they could not. But yeah, that AJ Minter coming back last night was huge, especially at this juncture, just 24 hours at that time before the deadline. And also hearing that Dylan Lee will do BP today, that is very encouraging. So there may be some signs in this 24 hours to where, you lost a game, but you won a whole heck of a lot as you prepare to go down this final stretch, and you've got the Orioles on your heels. You've got the Rangers on your heels. And notice, I keep talking about the American League because they're the ones that are really, really on your heels if you're able to get to that final destination, which is a World Series berth, right? But you've got the Dodgers on your heels as well. So I think it's important, just as those teams have gone all in to try to get to where they want to be. I think it's important for the Braves to be able to say, hey, not that we won't make a move at the trade deadline, but having these guys either back or close to coming back, with Max Fried right around the corner for this weekend series versus the Cubs, I think that should give Alex Anthopoulos some comfort and peace of mind about where he is.
And I think that Alex has for always displayed the fact that he is a guy that he's going to have a different perspective than the fan, of course, right? He understands what these guys bring to the table. He understands what AJ Minter brings to the table. He knows what Dylan Lee brings to the table. So when these guys are starting to creep their way back, because here we are in August, they still have,
Yes.
You know, the best team in the Major League Baseball, the best record in baseball. They out here breaking records, hitting 200 home runs before August. Like, that is, these are some of the things that have been done since 2019 with the Minnesota Twins. So all these things that are happening at this moment kind of further confirms that, hey, Alex is going to be patient. And I think even Bob Nightingale was said that, hey, you know, who was a guy who's super, super tapped in Major League Baseball, said that, hey, the Braves going to be relatively quiet because of these factors that I just named. People coming back, and they're showing well once they do come back. So we definitely going to keep an eye on it. But, you know, if you guys got some names that you are interested in, go ahead and drop it in the comment box. You know, and our everydayers, we appreciate you guys for commenting and doing those things as well. Now, T, FanDuel.com is the #1 sports book in America, so why don't you go ahead and check those guys out? They have a super, super great deal just for you. You can drop $20. $20, that's all you got to do. Drop $20 and you get up to $200 in bonus back, win or lose. That's all, like, come on, that's an amazing deal. And FanDuel is the best overall sports book to bet on Major League Baseball. We just got through talking about the Atlanta Braves. Go ahead and go over there and check them out. The app is safe, secure, it's super easy to use. You don't have to worry about anybody stealing your information. And plus, once the bet clears, you get your money right then and there. You don't have to run down the street and go text nobody trying to pull up, say, hey, I need my money. None of that. You'll drop it in your account right then and there. And you can even bet on the money lines, the over-unders. You can even bet who's going to hit the first home run. I know the Braves were a little light last night. Matt Olson, you know, he did his thing last night. But, hey, you know, that might be a name you might need to bet on because dude is doing his doggone thing. So head to FanDuel.com/lockedon, FanDuel.com/lockedon, LOCKEDON, excuse me, FanDuel, because it is the official sportsbook betting partner of Major League Baseball.
Another good bet is that this season, this offseason, this training camp, Grady Jarrett is going to refer to iron sharpens iron. I can't think of a time when we've gone up to Flowery Branch and he has not mentioned that or referenced it in some way. And basically what he's saying is, hey, when you get the best, then that's going to prepare you and help you to elevate your game, right? And reports coming out of Flowery Branch that we've seen personally and that we've heard about is that competitiveness, right? Maybe one of the most talked about stories so far, that competitiveness that Clark Phillips III and Drake London are bringing back from their days in the Pac-12. So that got me to thinking about iron sharpening iron, because we've heard as well some of the O linemen talking about their excitement about going up against the new D linemen to see just where they are in their process. Who can you think of, or what position battle on both sides of the ball where you could see iron sharpening iron? Where would that be for you?
Oh, for me, like the first name that comes to mind is Matthew Bergeron, because here's why. Because Matt Hennessy, you know, obviously he's day-to-day, so he's kind of dealing with some things. So the Falcons, you know, it's off season. They're not going to give you a full injury report or, you know, and kind of, you know, give you some time on when exactly he's going to come back. So, hey, they're going to kind of play that thing out that way. But as far as Matthew Bergeron is concerned, here's the difference. He's going to be going up against David Onyemata and Grady Jarrett. So that's a whole new level of iron and sharper iron, because here's the thing. Like, what better D-tackle combo will he face this year? Now, I know that we talked about on this show plenty of times last year, Mr. number 95 up there in Carolina, he had some all-pro type games against Derek Brown. He had some all-pro type games against the Falcons last year. So it will behoove him to, you know, get that good experience of going up against some guys, the top level guys in the league as far as in the interior rush, because they're going to give him a good picture of what it looks like to slide from that left tackle spot down into that left guard spot, because, hey, those guys are going to be on you as soon as that ball is snapping. You're going to figure out what you're going to do really quickly, T. So, yeah, that's the first one that comes to mind, Matthew Bergeron versus Grady Jarrett and or David Onyemata.
Yep, that's exactly where I was going, because interestingly enough, and we still believe that Matthew Bergeron is probably going to be your LG1 come opening day, right? But this situation, as Matt Hennessy is dealing with that injury, now kind of may speed that up a little bit, meaning we'll see more reps as they get closer to their first preseason game. And then we'll probably see those reps in the preseason game as well. I think that to me is, I would have to agree with you, like 100%. That is the battle that I'm looking for, because now Grady Jarrett has a partner. So it's like we get to see the iron both ways, right? Like this way will Matthew Bergeron going up against Grady and David Onyemata, will that sharpen him and get him, I'm going to use Bijan Robinson's word, get the game to slow down for him that much quicker. And then Grady Jarrett, it's going to be iron sharpening iron because you got Onyemata over there with you, right? Yeah. So I really like that concept of what he talks about all the time, what Grady talks about, and kind of looking at where those battles are really sharpening what we're seeing on the field each and every day. Now, the other thing that I was thinking about was this. The Falcons really kind of had a reputation these first two seasons, the first two under Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot, of being a team that had to go with 1-year prove-it deals, right? Because, hey, when you don't have money, that's what you got to do. But you look at each year, there was actually success in one way or another. I think Cordero Patterson is probably your most successful short-term deal, right? Because you saw what he did in his first year, but man, did he break it out in his second year.
Revitalize his career. Shoot.
Exactly. Like this is exactly like had the best stretch, and will probably continue to have the best stretch of his career, because now some of that load will be taken off. But he's a good example on the offensive side, if not the whole team, the best short-term deal. I say Lorenzo Carter because you were good enough for him to bring back, and they gave you a prove-it deal. So now we're in a season where the Falcons don't necessarily have as many prove-it deals, but there are some out there. So who do you feel like is that person this year, that guy, that dude who will either you expect to have that success and maybe put themselves in position to be brought back to, or that you feel needs to have that success?
Wow. Oh, I'm talking about, it has to be Bud Dupree for me.
Me too.
Because here's the thing. Like, because we know that was the Falcons' biggest need. I'm not speaking French anyway. But that was the Falcons' biggest need. Like for me, and I know we talked about like how they should have gone a little bit more heavy in defensively, specifically in the first round. Mm-hmm. When you're talking about bringing in that necessary help that's going to be able to help you right away. So they, instead of going that route, they went the whole veteran route. So you go out and bring back Lorenzo Carter. All right, cool, okay. But you bring in a guy like Bud Dupree who has done it. Like he has gotten the double-digit sacks. And I think that when you have a guy in this stage of his career, I'm sure that he want to at least get another solid, contract, because the guy's gotten some big contracts. You know what I mean? Right. So I think he had a 5-year, $82 million deal with the Titans, and Arthur Smith was around for that. So he understands what Bud Dupree brings to the table. So right now, I'm looking at Bud Dupree like, hey man, like there's nobody who has more to prove than you, sir. Yeah. Because here's the thing, like he can get a contract, because who are the Falcons paying outside of Grady Jarrett? You got David Onyemata, then of course you got Jesse Bates or whatever. Right. But as far as up front edge rushers, guys coming down the pipeline, like Arnie Ebiketie is on a rookie deal. So you got D'Angelo Malone. Who knows if he's going to even rush this year? Right. You know what I'm saying? Given how he's been looking out there. So I think right now, Bud Dupree has a chance to establish himself as the other guy. Hopefully, if Arnie Ebiketie, gets his stuff together. So I feel like he has much to prove to not only the Falcons but to himself as well, to try to see at least get one more good deal before he bows out.
And I'm glad you said that, because I would go with Bud Dupree, but I could also give a little bit of a cosign, albeit a different kind of deal in a different situation of how the Falcons got Jeff Okudah. But you might as well call Okudah. Yeah. You might as well call that a prove it.
Yeah, he has 1 year left on his contract.
Exactly. So I'm you're in prove it mode because your 5th year option.
Did not get picked up.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep. So I think that he's also in that space. But I love something that he said just yesterday, Jarvis, and it took me back to something Jerry Gray told me probably a month and a half ago when we first had an opportunity to meet this new coaching staff. So yesterday, Okudah was talking about the fact that he really likes Jerry Gray, because Jerry Gray knows how to coach each individual and coach them to their strengths. And that's what he's looking forward to. Now, take it back 6 weeks. And that's exactly what Jerry Gray said when he was smiling when I asked him about Jeff Okudah, and he
Let me
said,
get my hands on him. I
"Can't
remember.
wait." He was like,
I love
I want to get him back to his Ohio State days." And
Yeah.
you know when a coach is excited, like genuinely chomping at the bit, because he really believes he can do it. And you know, I call him the DB whisperer anyway. So I
Indeed.
think there's every opportunity for Jeff Okudah, barring any injury, to show that he's that 1 year prove it guy, that he will give the Falcons serious pause on allowing him to walk out the door. I think he could be that guy as well. Now, here was an interesting comment as we wrap up coming out of Flowery Branch just today. Arthur Blank had an opportunity to speak with the media. And I want to give you the quote that all of our colleagues put out there, because I thought it was very intriguing based on our conversation just yesterday about pressure. Quote, "This is the third year of a 3-year plan. What I see that I like a lot is that Coach Smith and Terry laid out a thoughtful and methodical plan. They've been very disciplined. I think we are moving in the right direction. I expect our team to be even more competitive." Now, if you plan for this moment, it's just like we said yesterday. Is there really any pressure, Jarvis?
No, not to be honest with you, because here's the thing. Like, they got hired for a reason, and this is coming from the man who hired them. They laid out a plan saying, hey, here's what we expect to do. Here's your situation. Here's what your salary cap looks like.
Yes.
Here's the real. Like, we're going to have to get rid of some folks.
Right.
And we're going to have to move on from some people that you absolutely loved as human beings, and probably as a son as well, and Matt Ryan. So all of those things come into play when you have a solid plan, a solid foundation. Say, here's how, not only we know, we're going to tell you how we're going to do. We're going to do it well. We're going to do well and win some games. But the fact that they laid it out and from a financial standpoint and from a culture standpoint, that's the part that, you know, that Arthur Blank believed, and that's why he believes in. So if you have a plan as to how to fix a disaster, so to speak, or salary cap hell, you got a plan for how to get out of it.
Yeah.
The easy part is executing after that, because, you know, that's the hard part, like making those decisions, who to bring in, what 1 year deal guys you need to bring in, you know, and what 1 year deal guys, once you have money and you spent it, you need to bring in, like we just talked about with a guy like Jeff Okudah and Bud Dupree. Once you bring those guys in to help beef up that roster even more so, once you spend that money on that exceptional talent, those are some of the things that I feel like they take away the pressure from me. Because if you have a plan and you know how to execute it, there ain't no pressure. It's just a matter of them just going out there and playing ball, because that's the easy part, right? Like, because, you know, you ask any former player, T, like nobody likes practice. Like if somebody say they like practice, they probably Michael Jordan or somebody like great or something like that, or they just not any good or whatever. But if you talking about what we actually want to do, you know, if I can just play games, true enough, everybody else will say yes. Yeah, I want to play. I want to get to the games, and now we're at the game part. Like here we're at the game part right now in this plan. So I think that we're going to be in for something really special, because, like you said, the owner understands it, he gets it, and he understands the execution of it. And I think that Arthur Smith wholeheartedly believes it as well.
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of go back to two words that he used: thoughtful and methodical plan, because when we were all kind of postulating about where they were going to go in the draft, and then maybe 1 or 2 days before the actual draft, we started hearing buzz about Bijan Robinson being their pick. And we were like, oh no, not another offensive skill player. No. But as you saw the rest of their picks, how they went up to get Matthew Bergeron, so they were getting the type of help that Desmond Ridder would need, and getting some help in the DB room in Clark Phillips III. That's when you started to say to yourself, and even to Zach Harrison, oh, okay, we see how you're going about it. You did go and get an O-lineman from the draft, which is basically where you go and get your best O-lineman. You got to draft them and then cultivate, right? And then on the defensive side of the ball, you went and kind of got a mix. You got some veterans that are coming into their own, like a Caden Ellis, a Jesse Bates III, who are continuing to come in their own. And you got some that may be in the twilight, but still got a little bit left in the tank, like a Calais Campbell. So that to me is thoughtful and methodical, because you had a part A to that plan, you had a part B to that plan. And now, like you're saying, it's time to just wait for the opportunity to execute. So what do you guys think? I mean, who do you guys think is that 1 year prove it guy that you say, hey, he needs to be successful, but I expect him to be successful to give the Falcons some pause on possibly bringing him back. And of course, iron sharpens iron. We told you guys a couple of matchups that we like. What do you like? You can let us know, right? Go to YouTube like you always do. Check us out. And don't forget to put a comment in the chat because, hey, we may mention it right here on our broadcast. And again, wherever you download your podcast, make sure you download ATL Day Ones too.
But T, this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, the culture, and sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down on this show. Today is definitely no different. When you think about, like for those you don't know, kind of bring you into the whole media world, Arthur Smith and D. Orlando Ledbetter have a very interesting relationship, right? Because, you know, coming in, D.Led was the guy who always got the first question. And, you know, Arthur Smith was kind of, it seems like he was a little bit sketchy about, you know, somebody having the designated first question. Right. But, you know, he kind of acquiesced because, you know, it's just how things been going for the past however long D-Led's been on his Atlanta Falcons beat, because the man is just a staple in the media community. But yeah, I think that, but Arthur Smith got a little emotional, I think. You know what I'm saying? He kind of missed D-Led because D-Led wasn't there for the first couple of days of practice. So he ended up taking a step further, saying he ended up fining D-Led $500 and wrote up a nice letter, like with the letterhead, signature, all this stuff, like official. And, you know, everybody was like, oh, wow. And D was like, you know, yeah, I guess I have to pay a fine. So he did. And he brought the big lottery check, you know, today, T, and presented it to him and did one of the best things you probably could do. And it falls in line with who D-Led is as a person. I know there's a character of D-Led, but D-Led, the person, it is such an amazing guy, just a great dude. So he said that, hey, Arthur Smith can pick whatever charity he wants it to go to. And, you know, how about that, T? He turned a joke, you know, and made it serious. And now he's going to, the $500 is going to go to charity to whatever choice D-Led wants, because Arthur Smith went up to him and said, you know what? You choose it, and then I'll double it. So how about that, T? That is some cool stuff right there.
And then Arthur Blank came on top of that and said, I'll add to it as well. I just love it. I'm like, that is the best story coming out of Flowery Branch so far during training camp. And here's the thing, too. As the media, we try to take a back seat because the story isn't about us. The story is about the coaches and the players and the owners, right? But this is that one time where finally we get to take center stage, and the guy who literally we call the OG, he deserves to take center stage. And it was such a funny story. I talked to him Sunday, and he was saying how we call her the Queen. That's his wife. He was saying how the Queen booked a vacation, and D-Led kept trying to figure out, kept asking about when is the first day of training camp. And I guess the Falcons just didn't have that date set. So the Queen went ahead and booked the vacation, and hey, you couldn't get out of it, right?
Right.
So it was just kind of, right. So he was like, hey, that's what I have to do to keep a happy home. And so they go on the vacation, they come back, and here this comes, and it just blows up, and people have video, and now you got to check. And it's just so very cool because, of course, you know, the other piece there is that he is my fraternity brother, my mentor, and all things big bro, all of that stuff, right? Because he, being a part of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, their mission statement is transforming communities through service and mentorship. And nobody does service and mentorship better than D-Led. So he has mentored so many of us on the beat and taken us under his wing. And that is why we defer to him as, okay, is D-Led going to go ahead and kick this thing off? Okay, now that D-Led's spoken, the rest of us can kind of chime in where we want to. But it's such a great beat to be on because we do have such quality people on the beat. But man, I just love this story because, hey, it gets intense out there for training camp. It is hot as all get out. And the players and the coaches and the media, everybody's like, God, this is like hell on earth. But when you have a story like this coming out, it just makes you smile and makes you remember. And I'm sure as a player makes you to remember as well, just the fun that you can have at training camp as well.
Absolutely. And I never forget, I think it was back in 2014, like D-Led was one of the first people to approach me out there because you know how it is. Like they call it new booty. You know what I'm saying? Like person out there, a new person out there. You know, well, in another establishment, you know, when new people or first day people, you know, they kind of refer to them as that. Yeah.
Oh, that. Okay.
Let me get back to my story, Tease. You know, I'm sorry, I'm talking myself into a ditch right now.
But I understand now.
So I'll never forget, you know, when I first came out there, like, because, you know, everybody having conversations with people who they know, been on the beat and all that stuff. And I'm just kind of standing off to the side and just kind of looking, not really knowing what to do. And I'm just like, all right, looking around. The next thing you know, I had this guy come up, hey, John, how you doing? I'm D.Led, Ledbetter for the AJC. I was like, oh, man, nice to meet you. I'm Jarvis, man. I read your stuff all the time. You know how they go. But, yeah, just an amazing dude. Just took time out to just kind of talk to me and everything. Kind of see where I was in the industry and everything. So, yeah, it was just I'll forever in debt to a guy like D.Led because he's just there. He's always there for you. You know, like when you have questions about anything, and he doesn't mind, you know, getting on your level as far as just kind of rapping with you, you know, just being a normal person because, you know, sometimes people get these egos and stuff in this industry. But yeah,
and he can because he's a professor at UGA. He is a licensed attorney. He's been the president of the Professional Football Writers Association and has a vote for the Hall of Fame. So yeah, if anybody could have the big head, it certainly could be him, but he's anything but that. So yeah, let's keep it coming. You know what? Maybe the rest of us in the media will chime in and write a little check too and do it for a good cause.
One of these days.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that as well. So, but we hope Spencer Strider is writing checks on people at the plate in the worst way possible. We hope that's the story we bring you guys tomorrow. And of course, we're going to follow any other stories that are coming out of Flowery Branch and let you know what's going on there. And of course, any story that is sports related in this town, you can get it and get all the goods and all the tea right here at ATL Day One. So make sure you come back.
And last but not least, before we get out of here, make sure you guys both share love, show love, and most importantly, spread love.